The internet never disappoints when it comes to serving chaos, controversy, and spectacle. Every week there's a new villain, a new hero, and a new "what the hell did I just watch" moment. But sometimes in the endless quest for attention, entertainment, and clout, people push boundaries in ways that are not just outrageous, they're downright disturbing. Today's story is one of those moments. It's weird, it's grotesque, and it left the internet in absolute shock. In December of last year, a content creator known online as Dear Head Girl exploded across social media, not for her fashion, not for her music taste, but for something so bizarre that it stopped people mid-scroll. She had posted a series of Instagram photos, proudly posing with a severed deer head. Yup, you heard that right. The images instantly ignited outrage, not just because of the gore, but because of where and how they were taken. It turns out the photos came from a punk concert in Maine, where a band allegedly hurled 2 severed deer heads into the crowd as part of their act. What followed was chaos. People tossing the heads around, stomping on them, and treating the entire thing like it was just another edgy photo op. But the internet wasn't having it, especially not the punk scene.
Where is this coming from? Where do you think that it's okay?
Dear Head Girl quickly became the face of the controversy, with hardcore punk fans accusing her of mocking animal death, clout chasing, and completely misrepresenting the values of the punk community. Because here's the thing, punk rock isn't about mindless shock, it's political, it's rebellious, it's raw, but it's never been about glorifying animal cruelty. Dear Head Girl's response afterward made things even worse. In an unapologetic follow-up, she essentially said that punk shows are meant to make people uncomfortable, and anyone who attends should expect the unexpected. But for a lot of fans, that statement crossed a line, because punk at its core is anti-establishment, not anti-life. And this concert wasn't some grimy basement free-for-all, it was an all-ages event, where teens and even kids were present. As the backlash grew, attention also turned to the people behind the stunt. People argued why the band and concert organizers were not held accountable for tossing real animal heads into the crowd, especially at a family-friendly punk event. But here's where it gets even more twisted. While the Dear Head Girl incident shocked the internet, anyone familiar with black metal culture had a different reaction. For them, this incident was a déjà vu moment. Because in the world of black metal, a far darker, more theatrical, and more extreme genre, this kind of stunt isn't new. We're talking about real animal carcasses, human bones, blood rituals, and even on-stage crucifixions. Yup, all of that and more has happened at black metal shows around the world.
Was thrown out over the audience, and people, especially in the front row, were doused, covered, drenched in this blood. The really weird part about this, aside from the fact that they threw real animal blood on the audience, is that everyone seemed to love it.
Although there were some people who threw up.
There were some people who got sick, but they didn't complain, they didn't...
So today we're breaking down the full story. Who is Dear Head Girl? What really happened at that concert? And why is the punk scene furious while black metal fans are barely blinking? We'll also look at some of the most disturbing moments in black metal history, the ones that walked the line between performance art and pure horror. Buckle up, this one gets dark. Dear Head Girl, or Diana May, is a TikToker who got into a serious controversy in 2024 for allegedly posing with a severed deer head and posting these gruesome pictures on the internet. Not only that, she later admitted to passing the deer head around and even stomping on it during the concert. To clear the confusion, her name on TikTok is not Deerhead Girl. This is just an alias people on the internet had given her after the infamous Deerhead incident. While she was the face of this entire controversy, you'll be surprised to know that her part in today's story is very limited. Consider her just the tip of a very deep, twisted, and disgusting iceberg. So this entire controversy stemmed from a 2024 punk concert that took place in Maine. As you can clearly see, the poster states that the show is for people of all ages. That includes children, teens, and anyone who wants to attend the show. While punk shows are loud, aggressive, and extremely electric, they're not supposed to be grotesque or disgusting. People attend these shows to feel a sense of freedom and scream their lungs out, not to witness something horror or entirely inhuman. But in this particular punk show, something wildly disturbing happened that left many people on the internet speechless and horrified. While all of the bands performing at the show were from the punk scene, they thought it would be highly amusing to throw 2 severed deer heads into the crowd and create a shocking element. It's important to note that there were numerous underage people in the audience, and this horrible stunt was not at all appropriate. What happened next was somehow even more disturbing than the initial stunt. While most of the images and videos from that night have since been scrubbed from the internet, eyewitness accounts flooded social media, painting a grisly picture of what really went down at the concert. According to multiple attendees, the severed deer heads were passed around the crowd like party props. People laughed, posed for pictures, and yeah, some even stomped on them like it was all some kind of twisted joke. While several people at the show had participated in this bizarre and gruesome moment, Deerhead Girl became the public face of the outrage, not just because she engaged with it, but because she chose to broadcast it proudly. Diana posted photos to her Instagram that showed her grinning, posing with the bloodied remains, and in one particularly jarring image, stepping directly on the head like it was a trophy. Within days, her post went viral, sparking a firestorm online. But this wasn't just the usual social media backlash. This struck a nerve, especially within the punk community. Punk fans began calling her out, not just for insensitivity, but for violating one of punk's core values. What she saw as edgy or rebellious, others saw as disrespectful, cruel, and completely antithetical to what punk actually stands for. And just like that, the conversation spiraled from one Instagram post into a full-blown cultural reckoning about animal abuse, shock value, and who gets to represent a subculture. For a short time, many believed Diana brought the deer heads to the venue itself as part of some twisted stunt, a rumor that only intensified the backlash. But soon the truth started to surface.
Okay, I have one question about the Deerhead Girl. Did she bring it to the show, or did the band bring it to the show? I'm still confused about that part. Because this might be an unpopular opinion, but I kind of don't think it was Deerhead Girl's fault. I kind of think that it was the band's fault for bringing the heads in the first place. Am I wrong, or?
Several TikTok users and concertgoers came forward to clarify what had actually happened. According to eyewitnesses, a small underground band performing that night had thrown 2 severed deer heads into the crowd during their set, allegedly in an attempt to shock the audience. As grotesque as that sounds, it immediately cast doubt on the idea that Diana May had orchestrated the incident. People began asking, if she didn't bring the heads, why was she the only one being targeted? Why weren't the band members or concert organizers facing equal, if not greater, scrutiny? While these people certainly had a point, the actions of some twisted band members do not negate the fact that Diana's posts were hugely insensitive.
Hi, I'm really confused. Why is everybody upset at that girl, the Deerhead Girl? Every time I found something about it, it's like misinformation, like she brought the deer head to the show, which have you ever been to a show? You think that people are just walking into venues with an entire deer head? No. Obviously that was the band. What I'm still not getting is, why is everybody attacking her for what? Literally the only thing I could find that she actually did was lick the deer head. Meanwhile, the deer head had been thrown into the crowd and was being, like, tossed around and smashed, and, like, eventually the band ended up smashing the deer head, apparently. So what did this girl do wrong? Take a picture with it? Am I missing something? The worst I've heard somebody say that she did was take a video with the deer head. Or lick the deer head. Are y'all okay? I fear there's, like, way more pissed about. Like, predators being rampant in the metal community!
After this revelation, the backlash began to split into two camps. Those who thought Diana was being unfairly targeted, and those who believed her actions were just as disturbing as the band's. And the evidence wasn't exactly in her favor. While she may not have introduced the deerheads to the scene, she eagerly participated in the disturbing display. She posed with them, she stopped on one, and she didn't just post the photos, she kept one of them as her Facebook profile picture for days after the internet erupted with criticism. It was hard to see that as anything but defiant.
So first of all, I can't believe that deerhead thing happened in Maine, like, at all, because we're very respectful. But I also know that the upper part of the state is pretty conservative, which also probably wouldn't happen. But the most wild thing about this is that she still has it up as her profile picture on Facebook. And that's kind of scary and also really gross.
Then came her tone-deaf response video that only made things worse. Instead of expressing genuine remorse or even acknowledging the horror of the situation, Diana appeared completely unfazed. This was the first time people were listening to her speak, and her statements left no doubt that she was hopelessly uninformed about the punk culture. In her video, she claimed the concert was a black metal show and that people should expect disturbing stunts like this in that kind of setting.
It's Deerhead Girl, I guess, if you want to call me that. But pretty much, I went to Crust Miss, like, a festival, which is a black metal crust punk. When I showed up, it was right before the Dragged by Chains set, which was the band that brought out the Deerheads. And I showed up right before. I left right after their set, but during their set, they brought out two separate Deerheads because it was Christmas. It was a Christmas show. They were supposed to represent reindeer, and, you know, metal is out of pocket and disgusting, and it's supposed to make your stomach turn, and you're not supposed to, like, be comfortable when you're listening to metal music or in a show. And then I put it back down on the ground, and people were playing with it and moshing with it, and you know, they continued their set. They played like normal. Whatever. The set finished, I said my goodbyes, and I ended up leaving. I, you know, didn't think anything of the Deerheads because we weren't, at least I wasn't being disrespectful. From, you know, my knowledge, I wasn't being disrespectful. All I did was take a picture with the Deerhead. You know, it's gross. Sure, 100%, whatever. It's gross, but, like, I'm weird, and I don't care.
There was just one massive problem. It wasn't a black metal show. It was a punk rock concert. A genre that, while chaotic and rebellious, has never embraced animal abuse or theatrical horror. Either Diana didn't know what kind of event she was attending, or worse, she was trying to distort the facts to excuse her behavior. Some people on the internet also thought that her response was highly amusing. She clearly did not have any idea what she was talking about. In her twisted mind, it was extremely cool, edgy, and hardcore to play with a dead animal's head. And the fact that she believes punk culture is all about being extremely insensitive and messed up is the biggest problem.
God, bringing immediately the Deerhead to the show is fucked up. I'm sorry that you guys are fucking posers. Like, I'm so fucking hardcore. If I'm not too careful, I'm gonna cut myself out on this edge. Like, it was a crushed Christmas show, what do you expect? Have you never been to a punk show? I honestly guess we have to gatekeep harder. And yeah, like, after we posed with the Deerhead...
While Diana was getting her fair share of backlash, people were also concerned about the band's behavior, which threw the animal heads into the crowd. What were they exactly thinking, pulling that kind of grotesque stunt in an all-ages punk show? After Diana May's role in the cast was dissected by every corner of the internet, the spotlight finally shifted to the people who had actually started the madness. Through TikTok investigators and first-hand accounts, The band was soon identified as an underground act called Dragged by Chains. Unlike the other acts that night, Dragged by Chains was relatively obscure, a small, gritty band with barely any online presence. But after this grotesque stunt, they got more attention than they'd ever received in their entire career. Unfortunately for them, it wasn't the kind of attention anyone wanted. From the very beginning, it felt like their decision to throw animal carcasses into a crowd at an all-ages punk concert was nothing more than a desperate attempt to create shock value. Maybe they thought it would make them look edgy. Maybe they thought it would earn them street cred in the underground scene. Instead, it did the exact opposite. Their disgusting act backfired spectacularly. While a few twisted, shock-hungry fans like Diana seemed to enjoy the moment, the overwhelming majority of the audience, especially longtime punk fans, were horrified. In the days following the event, TikTok was flooded with users recounting just how traumatizing and jarring the experience was. Several creators from the punk community urged others to stay away from Dragged by Chains' future shows if they wanted to feel safe, free, and respected at concerts. And honestly, they were right. What Dragged by Chains pulled wasn't just disrespectful, it was a violation of punk's foundational values.
A member of the main community and want to be a part of the scene, please avoid anything that has to do with Dragged by Chains.
What's even more unbelievable and interesting is the fact that they borrowed this horror stunt from a genre that punk had been in conflict with for decades. For those unfamiliar, punk rock and black metal have a long-standing cultural beef. These are two genres that clash at the roots, in sound, in ethos, and in worldview. For a punk band to adopt the grotesque tactics of black metal, that's more than just confusing, it's a betrayal of everything punk stands for. In the days that followed, people started digging more about Dragged by Chains. Since they're a small band, they didn't find much information, but a YouTuber named Sin stumbled upon some of their old interviews. What struck her was an interview with the girlfriend of Dragged by Chains' lead guitarist. She described a moment when her boyfriend smashed a guitar on stage so violently that shards flew into the crowd, hitting multiple people, including her. Although she claimed to be fine with it, chalking it up to punk chaos, her words painted a clearer picture of the band's mindset, reckless and proud of it. What's becoming clearer by the day is that this band didn't just cross a line, they bulldozed it.
Their boyfriends was hitting people with guitar shards.
My boyfriend smashed his guitar and it hit so many people.
Silas ended up smashing a guitar in front of a large crowd. The debris got everywhere, but the thing that stood out to me the most was that he hurt his own girlfriend.
Hit me in the leg like hard, and then Lucas was picking it up, and this bitch, he drags the string.
When the backlash intensified in the coming days and people kept recounting the events of the concert, Dragged by Chains realized that the situation was getting out of hand. While they clearly threw deer heads into the crowd to shock and offend people, they did not expect such an intense outrage. So they decided to apologize to the people they willingly and intentionally traumatized, disrespected, and offended. They posted an Instagram story saying this: "We would like to give a sincere apology to anyone affected by our performance last night. The two deer heads were brought to the show by a butcher. The deer had been ethically sourced and for food. Dragged by Chains does not condone animal abuse. Anyone who knows us personally will tell you that." Before this statement surfaced, many people had been wondering where they got the deer heads from. Because obviously you can't just enter a butcher shop anytime and purchase a severed deer head. Their IG story clarified that they had acquired the deer heads from a butcher who was supposedly friends with one of the band members. While this explanation was good enough for some people, others still had their doubts. Apparently, the deer hunting season in Maine that year ended on December 14th, while the show was held on December 28th, nearly 2 weeks after the hunting season ended. Many people alleged that the deer were not ethically sourced as the band claimed. And given their track record and the recent display of problematic behavior, nobody would have been surprised if this turned out to be true. While some people expected the worst from the band, others relied on logical thinking and assumed that the deer heads might have been kept frozen for the concert. Well, even if the heads were ethically sourced and the rest of their meat was used for food, there is still zero justification for how these remains were disrespected at a punk show where children were present. Around this time, several respected creators from the punk scene began speaking out, posting detailed videos to set the record straight. They wanted the world to know what happened at that concert was not punk, and it was never meant to be. These creators emphasized that punk culture is built on community, rebellion, and respect, not cruelty or cheap shock tactics. They made it clear that punk shows are not meant to make anyone uncomfortable.
Okay, completely disregard my appearance. I needed to vent about this right now and was not ready for this. So let's talk about a few things. I'm sure you guys have probably seen the deer head girl thing going around at the punk show with Dragged by Chains in Maine. If you haven't, basically, like I just said, punk show, Christmas in Maine, they threw out 2 severed deer heads and proceeded to throw it around, take pictures with it, stomp on the heads. I'm talking like stomp on the deer heads, okay? Like, what the actual... Now, there's a few things that goes into this. I mean, for starters, it being a punk show, that is the very, very last thing you could ever expect and goes completely against everything that punks stand for. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, not only is that wildly disturbing, but like, you are going up against every single thing about being a punk. Like, that's not right. And, the excuses that I have seen is like, oh, we got them from a butcher. For starters, hunting season ended like 3 months ago, okay? And does that even matter where you got it from? No. The fact is that you did it. It doesn't matter where it came from. You threw 2 severed deer heads into a crowd of people, which, by the way, was an all-ages show. And I have been to this venue before, and I have seen children at these venues. I have a, hold on. So this is the flyer right here, and you can see right here, it says all ages. All ages are welcome to the show, and this is what you're gonna do? Now, I don't know if there was children at this particular show, but if there's a show where children are allowed to be in, which I have seen children at this venue, why the would you think that that's okay? Genuinely, why would you think that's okay? I mean, can you even think for a second how traumatic that would be? I mean, even if there was no children there, you bringing that and planning this out to a show where there very well could have been and have been children at, where is that okay for you? It's just like, a big thing too is like, I've seen a lot of the apologies, right? And a lot of the apologies are like, oh, well, you should expect to feel uncomfortable at these shows. No, you shouldn't. No, you really shouldn't, because punk is a completely different thing. Every genre has a specific type of etiquette. If I'm going to a black metal show, that's something that wouldn't really run it past me. I'd be like, you know what, that's kind of what I expected being here, right? But like, you're at a punk show, and like, they have used like the, oh, black metal excuse. There was zero black metal bands playing. This was not a black metal show. This was an all ages Christmas punk show at a place where I've only seen punk things. Like, this is like a punk venue. Telling someone that, oh, well, you should expect to feel uncomfortable. No, you really shouldn't. And if anyone has seen those videos and seen that apology video and been like, oh, well, maybe I don't want to go, don't feel that way, because I'm telling you right now, like, every show that I've ever been to is where I have felt the most comfortable because the etiquette exists. Like, yeah, for hardcore, you're gonna see people spin kicking and it might be a little bit scary to get into a pit, but like, that's basically all you gotta worry about. Like, I just don't understand, like, the, oh, well, like, where is this coming from? Where do you think that it's okay? And just blaming other people for being uncomfortable by it? Like, how are you supporting this? So, disregarding everything personal that I have with this band and these people, if you are a member of the Maine community and want to be a part of the scene, please avoid anything that has to do with Dragged by Chains. It's not going to be a fun experience, and for anyone anywhere else, if you do see something like this going on, record it and leave. Like, if you are in a situation at a show where you think that something is not right, and, you know, like, you think that it's every show, I can promise you it's not every show. Most people actually care about other people, you know, like, just because we're in a scene that's, like, not normal and is, like, evil or whatever, you know. It's not like that, okay? So, just remember that going forward, alright? You're not supposed to feel uncomfortable at a show, and if you are feeling uncomfortable at a show like this one, leave and don't feel bad about it.
Of this disturbing event, a haunting question loomed. Why would a punk band pull a stunt this grotesque at an all-ages show? Was it truly a misguided attempt at edgy art? Or were the band members deliberately trying to channel something darker? One thing became increasingly clear. Members of Dragged by Chains appeared to be heavily influenced by the extreme theatrics of black metal. And for those unfamiliar, that's not a good thing. Black metal shows have a long, controversial history of pushing boundaries in the most disturbing ways imaginable. We're talking about concerts where animal blood is hurled into crowds, where crucified human models and rotting animal carcasses are used as stage props, and where horror isn't part of a metaphor, it's the whole brand. These acts have completely distorted the idea of entertainment. The Deerhead incident is a stark reminder of how badly these theatrics have influenced the younger artists. And if you think the incident with Dragged by Chains was just some isolated act of shock gone wrong, you're sadly mistaken. This isn't new. This isn't rare. Time and time again, artists, especially those circling the darker subgenres, have crossed every conceivable boundary of decency in the name of performance. What happened in Maine is just another chapter in a much bigger and much more twisted story that's been unfolding for decades. To fully understand how we got here, we need to take a closer look at black metal's long and disturbing relationship with shock value. Black metal originated in the 1980s and became a famous subgenre in the 90s. Their music, themes, and aesthetics have always been considered very transgressive, obsessive, and extremely dark. They're different from punk shows because their entire existence is laced with controversy, chaos, and cruelty. Some of the earliest and most infamous black metal bands wanted to stand out not on the basis of their futuristic or edgy music, but on the basis of terrifying and absolutely shocking people. Bands like Mayhem and Gorgoroth gained notoriety because their shows always carried severe shock elements and nasty aesthetic details. During one of their shows in 2004, Gorgoroth literally featured 4 real-life human models standing in the crucifixion. Not only that, there were impaled sheep heads on spikes and more than 80 liters of sheep blood on stage. This horrific stage decor was so scary and grotesque that the state TV responsible for recording the show immediately reported everything to the Poland police. When the police arrived, they witnessed a horrific scene. Blood was everywhere on stage, with naked females hanging on the crucifix and sheep heads on the spikes. One of the hanging female models even fainted during the event, and an ambulance had to be called. There were also a lot of satanic symbols and gruesome imagery. This, of course, did not sit well with the Catholics of Poland. Immediately after the event, a police investigation took place on the allegations of animal cruelty and religious offenses. While the concert organizers were heavily fined in 2007 for not halting the event and informing the performers about the country's laws, the band easily got off the hook. Gorgoroth did not face any legal consequences, but they still suffered for their action as the whole team was dropped from the tour. If you think this controversial incident would have stopped other black metal bands from doing such horrible things, you are terribly wrong. In 2011, one of the most infamous and darkest black metalers, Mayhem, admitted to using real human bones as props on stage. One of the singers on the band proudly shared this information with the public, saying that they smuggled human skulls and bones to France and featured the remains on stage. According to him, they did it not for sensation, but for spiritual reasons. The band did not stop there. They continued to use animal carcasses, human bones, and all kinds of symbols and rituals in their upcoming shows. They even attracted the wrath of one of Sweden's biggest animal rights organizations because they can pig heads and animal rib cages in their live performances. Another notorious black metal band, Watain, gained popularity in 2014 by doing similar gnarly and sinister acts. Their shows were infamous for extremely hellish and ritualized live segments with blazing pyro, satanic symbols, and horrible imagery in the background. Using animal blood, pig heads, and carcasses was a common theme in their shows. What's even more disgusting is the fact that the band members often performed on the stage drenched in animal blood. They not only soaked themselves in animal blood, but often drenched the audience members too. In one of their shows in 2014, they threw skulls full of animal blood onto the crowd, causing numerous people to vomit. TMZ, one of the biggest news publications, later covered this story, narrating that the horrible stench from the blood was extremely unbearable.
Live concert. But what happened in Brooklyn is probably not my scene. A Swedish black metal band. Now, they're not black. They're not black Swedes. That's what you call...
They're devil-worshipping heavy metal band.
Yes. The group is called Watain, and they performed in Brooklyn over the weekend. And they did something that if it's true, and everyone who's at the show and the band members aren't denying it, that they threw
pig's blood
into the audience
from a skull, covering people.
Watch what happened. A skull, a goat skull, that was filled with blood, pig's blood, and it was thrown out over the audience. And people, especially in the front row, were doused, covered, drenched in this blood. The really weird part about this, aside from the fact that they threw real animal blood on the audience, is that everyone seemed to love it.
Although there were some people who threw up.
There were some people who got sick, but they didn't complain, they just threw up and are like, yeah, that's the experience,
so,
dude.
John Lozano was actually there. He was at the concert. John, you there?
It's a little bit hard, yeah.
So you got covered?
Yeah, I was right here on the middle of the stage, and then I moved right into the right of the stage. It's just the blood was like, the stench of it. It was just like, it was just incredible. I had a lot of fun. I loved the band and everything, but it's just the smell of it, and the fan in the venue was kicking up that smell.
Did you know that they were going to do this? I mean, is this a thing of this band?
Well, this is the thing. They did it in Brooklyn because, particularly in this location, they could do their full show. They cannot do it in other areas. There was the FDNY was there because they had like burning crosses on stage. So they were there. They in this location, they were able to do their full European show.
Queens, you could never get away with that.
So do you know that this was, I mean, how do you know this was real blood, real pig's blood?
Well, it was, smells like blood, and it was that thick substance. It's blood. It's, you know, fake blood. This isn't fake blood at all. It was a thick, I mean, I smelled it. It was all over my shirt, and I got rid of it, and if I had known that they were going to call me and talk about the story, I would have saved the shirt and everything. Exactly. There was the after party at Dove's Brooklyn. A lot of the kids went there, and it was great. The band also went there to Dove's Brooklyn after the show.
Did you, John? Did you meet any of the band members there?
I have met them before.
Are they like regular guys when you talk to them, or I don't know?
I've met Eric. I've met Eric before at the same place at Dubs Brooklyn last time they were here in New York City.
Okay, Drew Millard is the features editor for Noisy.com. Apparently, Drew, I have a bunch of questions for you. You were there. Drew, you there?
What up, RA? What's good?
Were you there?
Yes, I was there. I was present. My body was there. Yes.
How on earth are they allowed to do this in the United States?
Yeah, the health department has said nothing about this, by the way.
I can say that this is not without precedent. Watain has done this for years. There is a band called Mayhem that did something very similar decades ago. I don't know. I don't think it's that big a deal. Also, the blood is salinated, which makes it a lot more sanitary and safe.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. It's what?
Salinated. They add salt to it, so it like comes out of your clothes easier.
So you're sure, but you're sure it's real pig's blood, right?
I did not get the substance on me myself, but according to myriad reports, yeah, they do throw like animal blood, not always pig, sometimes cow blood on the audience.
Are they a real popular band?
In that world, yes, they're known more for their live show than their records.
Do they really worship the devil? I don't know, maybe is John still there?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Do they really worship the devil? And if you're a fan, what does that mean for you? And I'm not, no judgment, you just asking.
I'm an atheist. I accept everybody's beliefs or whatever as long as it doesn't bother me. Yeah, they're devil worshippers, but it's mostly a performance art type of thing. In America, this was, if I'm not mistaken, this is the only time or the first time that they've been allowed to do their full show with the burning crosses, with the throwing blood at the audience. A lot of girlfriends and a lot of couples were walking out. It was pretty funny. There was a girl standing next to me that got hit, and she was like, I'm going to sue them. I'm going to sue them. I'm going to sue them. You know?
What's disappointing is the fact that some people enjoy these ritualistic acts and find it entertaining to be drenched in smelly and gross animal blood. At this point, it's honestly hard to tell whether black metal bands are trying to create music or simply competing in a who can get banned the fastest contest. And if that were the case, Watain would be winning by a bloody landslide, quite literally. Over the years, they've also been accused of some pretty revolting things like pigeons and acquiring dogs from the homeless shelter and using their blood during the shows. Yeah, that's right. If your jaw's on the floor, you're not alone. While the band has vehemently denied these specific allegations, the fact that people even found such rumors believable says everything about their reputation. Watain's gruesome live performances, anti-religious songs, and theatrics have landed them in hot water more times than anyone can count, including the time when Singapore banned their show just hours before it was set to begin. The reason was the usual: anti-religious lyrics, past misconducts, and grotesque live rituals that probably violate at least 3 international health codes. And the sad part, other more modern bands watched this and thought, yeah, let's do that too. Martyrdom, a Texas-based black metal band who clearly took notes from their scandalous predecessors, faced serious controversy in 2024 for throwing a severed pig head into the mosh pit. What's worse is that the crowd started tossing it around and playing with it like it was a beach ball. Naturally, the video of this nonsense went viral, and the backlash hit harder than any of their guitar riffs. Of course, the band released the classic "We Got Carried Away" apology, like it was a minor wardrobe malfunction. But let's be honest, this wasn't some rookie mistake. They've seen what other black metal bands have done, and yet they still went through with it. Why? Because shock sells. Even if it's absolutely disgusting, it gets attention, and that for some of these bands is the ultimate goal. Let's not forget the 1990s gem Diacide, who apparently thought, what could be better than music? Oh right, rotting meat. Yup, this band took things to a new low by throwing decomposing meat into the crowd during their performances. The act was so revolting and so out of control that authorities had to step in and shut down their shows after just a few attempts. While black metal's most loyal fans may revel in the chaos, blood, and filth of their favorite band's live performances, not everyone in the room signed up for a horror house experience. In fact, for some unsuspecting workers, attending these concerts wasn't a choice, it was their job. And if you scroll through Reddit, you'll find various comments and posts from traumatized venue staff and security guards sharing their first-hand experiences with the black metal bands. One Reddit user recalled working as a security guard at a black metal show, thinking it would be a standard gig with loud music and maybe a few rowdy fans. What he got instead was an insect-infected nightmare. According to him, the band hurled a piñata into the crowd, and instead of candy, it was stuffed with over 500 live crickets. Can you even imagine the scene? Hundreds of live crickets flying around the concert venue. The chaos that followed was as gross as it was unmanageable. The bugs were trampled underfoot, their guts smeared across the floors, and as the Redditor put it, the smell by the end of the night was absolutely foul. Worse yet, some of the crickets escaped into the venue's kitchen, causing what he described as a major health code violation. And of course, it was up to the staff, not the band, to clean it all up. As if that wasn't repulsive enough, another user chimed in with a story involving none other than Watain, the same band repeatedly accused of bringing death and decay to their shows in the name of art. This time, the band allegedly rolled up to the venue with an entire trailer full of animal carcasses. According to the worker, the stench of death clung to the walls for weeks, lingering so badly that even a month later, the venue still reeked of decomposing flesh. The recent event in Maine reminded all of us about the crazy and nasty history of black metal concerts. People from the punk scene are particularly angry because, like black metalers, they do not stand for theatrics, satanic rituals, and animal abuse. It's pretty evident that Dragged by Chains was trying to pull the same stunts some black metal bands carried out in the name of shock value. That's the legacy they're following, whether they realize the full weight of it or not. They weren't just trying to be edgy, they were borrowing from a playbook that's been steeped in exploitation for decades. And when you take something that dark and inject it into a punk concert, especially one open to all ages, you're not just making a poor creative choice, you are playing with fire. In the end, the Deerhead Girl controversy was not just some weird and twisted internet drama. It turned into a serious wake-up call about where we draw the line between entertainment and messed up nonsense. What started as a girl stomping on a severed deer head for Instagram clout quickly spiraled into a genre crisis, exposing just how far some people will go for 5 minutes of viral fame. And while black metal bands have been perfecting the art of how disgusting can we get for decades, punk rock wasn't built on animal carcasses and bug infestations. It was built on more human rules. Like anti-authoritarianism, not let's throw rotting meat at teenagers. If this mess taught us anything, it's that shock value without meaning is just lazy chaos and corpse paint. So maybe next time, leave the dead animals out of it and just play the music. If you liked our video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. We find the juiciest and the craziest internet drama and bring it to you every day. Stay connected with our channel and get your daily dose of internet nonsense.